What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful night. Beautiful night tonight. Perfect temperature, perfect humidity. I don't feel a breeze, so everything is working tonight. Fresh cup of Lipton tea. Delicious. Delicious. They know how to make tea. They know how to make tea. Anyway, Tuesday night. Quiet. Everybody's getting ready for bed. I'm out here. I was thinking about AI, EIEIO. I was thinking about AI, artificial intelligence. And, we've been hearing about it for years. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And now it's here. And it just seems like it happened too fast. Too fast. I don't even know when it got here. All of a sudden now everything's AI this, AI that. And, it feels like not that long ago they were talking about we're still working on it. I want to tell you, in my opinion, this stuff can end up being very, very scary. Very scary. Anything that can dominate over you is scary. So you got to look at AI. Not that long ago, a few years back, beat a human chess player, the top one in the world, beat him. And the second that happened, you knew that we were no longer going to be considered the smartest things on this planet. But I don't know. It's kind of weird, You look at it, and every so many months, it gets better and better, and we're not getting any better. We're the same as we were 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago. We have more knowledge, but the capacity and our mental speed, the way the speed in which we figure things out, that has not improved. You can only read a book so fast. You can only do math so fast. And these AI entities, they can read books in seconds. I think they can read the whole encyclopedia in like 30 seconds. They can do math. I know they can do like 1 trillion combinations in seconds. And we have a hard time doing 3 times 3. So I was looking at some of this stuff that's coming, and we are in the infancy stages of AI, very early. And look what it's doing. Very early. And 50 years from now, it's going to be crazy. Even 20 years. 10 years from now, they're already driving cars better than most humans are. And there's this code. I was listening to this guy talking about AI, and he was talking about this code that is replicating now, but advancing on its own. And nobody knows, not even the creators know how this is happening. That's kind of weird. But at the moment that these computers get consciousness, awareness, self-awareness, then it's going to be crazy. Now it's like beneficial. You say, okay, it helps me do this, it helps me do that, it delivers packages, it figures problems out. But when they get consciousness and self-awareness, they're not going to want to do that for you. They're going to want to dominate. Now, it depends. It depends. It's, 2 roads you can take on these things. You can either go down the path of, I want to dominate the world, especially once they get self-consciousness, or I want to serve humanity. I think they're going to want to dominate. That's going to me, it seems like the path they're going to take. But the more you hear about this stuff, the crazier it gets. The only thing is that, the crazy part is that they're going to be much, much more intelligent than human beings. They already are. They already are. The good thing is that they can probably find cures for diseases. But the fact that they can self-replicate down the line, right now they're writing their own code. That is weird. They're writing their own code, and computer scientists do not know how that is happening. So, moral dilemmas are going to come up. Imagine these things being weaponized, not by us, by themselves. You know, imagine AI builds a very, very sophisticated robot and then builds weapons for that robot. Not weapons we have, not our pistols and our rifles. I'm talking about something beyond that. And then what does that leave humanity? You know, it takes over the jobs, and eventually it won't need to take over the jobs. It'll just exist doing its own thing. These things may be solar powered, maybe battery powered, but you know, eventually they'll be powered by the sun, like plants are. And then when you look at that, we're going to be like gods to these things initially, because we actually created them. But our creation seems eventually, maybe not right now in all aspects, but eventually it's going to be better than us in every way, which will be weird. But I don't know, the more I learn about this stuff, I don't know. I mean, they're fun. You know, you use them to record songs with, you know, it'll help you out, cinematography, things like that. But I don't know what's going to happen down the line. You know, can you imagine 100 years from now, at the rate we're going now, with the advancements that are happening? They're super fast. They can outthink a human any day. So, you know, I forget what they were saying, that that Russian, that chess player, Kasparov was his name, top in the world, you know, great mind for playing chess. The IBM computer beat him, and that was years ago. Can you imagine now? There will never be a time, if computers keep going as they are, there will never be a time where a human being will be able to beat a computer at chess ever again. Ever. You know, up until now, we were the smartest things on the planet, but now it doesn't look that way. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? And then, if that's what happens with, you know, life, can you imagine life on other planets that are way ahead of us? They're probably obsolete. It's probably the machines that run the place. And I know it sounds weird. It sounds like I'm talking about like Terminator or something. But when Terminator came out, I think it was 1984, we never thought in our lifetime we would see anything like that. And now I'm watching, if you go on YouTube, you can see robots performing the tasks that humans do, but much better. You know, there's one that can do gymnastics. I couldn't do gymnastics even in my prime. So you see this thing, it's doing flips back and forth, upside down, jumping up, climbing stairs, jumping on a thin beam, balancing on that beam. You know, it's crazy. They have a young person's agility. Or I may even say a cat's agility. And you can do plyometrics all day, you're not going to get as good as that robot is. And years ago, they couldn't get a robot to walk. And I remember in the 80s and 90s, they would talk about, you know, when are they going to get robots to walk? And they'll say, oh, you don't understand how hard that is. A lot of math involved in that. And now, you know, they're all walking. Imagine robots start replicating themselves, like building robots, but every 2 or 3 months, the next generation is even more advanced than the previous one. And then eventually they arm themselves and they go into the world. What are you going to do? What kind of force are you going to use against them? All right? you don't even have steel strong enough to stop them. If you use your imagination, it just gets more bizarre. You know, the things that they can do. They can figure out explosives. They can start using those. They can go after people. So, you know, and then what happens? Like I said, what happens to humanity? They become obsolete. And then I was watching this thing where eventually all these AIs can combine together and build a super AI, like a god type of an AI, god type, where it has the capacity of 1 billion human brains in one, and maybe even more. You know, and then this thing, if it's, you know, and there's no such thing as evil or good when it comes to computers. They're machines. They don't think like that. But imagine, from our point of view, one of them decides, let's do the evil stuff here, because they've read so many of those novels that are evil, and they get the ideas, and they go, yeah, we can take over this place. We can launch some nuclear, you know, missiles. So, like I said, it's, you know, when I was a kid in high school, I remember they brought in the computers. They were so primitive compared to what we have now. And back then, we thought that they were really advanced. We were like, wow, we're getting an Apple. And they were nothing. They did nothing. I mean, they were just basically, you know, electronic typewriters. And now, because time flies, you don't even realize it. But now here we are. Here we are. You know, here we are. Back then, computers were, you know, remember the $6 Million Man? They try to make it look like, wow, this show is really advanced. Check out these computers. And it was mainframes with light bulbs going off and on, different colors. Ridiculous. Star Trek, same thing. Just a lot of flashing lights. We're going in a direction that a lot of people 100 years ago never would have imagined, and we cannot imagine what it's going to be like here in 100 years. You know, already, I mean, if somebody was born in 1950, already this place looks foreign to them. You know, with all the computers and all that stuff. You know, there'll be AIs listening to hear what you're saying through your phone, through their powerful hearing. Walking by the street, they'll hear you. You know, it's like when I saw Terminator originally when I was a kid, that seemed like a reality that was hundreds of years away, if ever. And now it's not that far. If you see a lot of these robots, I'm telling you, check out these robots that can do acrobatics. You know, they're running. There's one that I saw was running in a race. So, and you know, a robot doesn't forget anything. A human, you get fuzzy memory, but a robot will remember every detail of every second of its existence. So it could be a good thing, it could be a scary thing. I don't know. We'll see which way it goes. And then I was reading something about the universe, which my favorite topic, and you know, the whole concept of when did it come into existence. Now I'm starting to doubt that the Big Bang was the true beginning. I don't think it was. I think there's probably parts of the universe that come into existence using that method, maybe, but I think the overall universe is always there. It's just that sections, I think, die off, right? So you say some section's been around for like, I don't know, 10 trillion years, and now it's fading out. Well, I think everything somehow recycles, pressure builds up maybe, and then you have another explosion of new matter, new material coming in and reforming that section of the universe. I don't think the whole thing disappears or comes into existence all at once. You know, there's no real evidence either way. Nobody knows, but you know, I don't see why this would have been the first time. They say, oh, we've narrowed it down to 13.8 billion years old. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they're going to find that the Big Bang may happen in a portion of the universe, but the overall universe has always been there. If it's infinite in size, it must be infinite in age. But infinity to me just does not make sense. My mind cannot wrap around infinity. Especially when you think that there's a beginning. If there's a beginning, how can something be infinite? You know, how does something even get to infinity? When you begin, say you're this big, now you're this big, now you're this big, now you're this big, now you're this big. Even if you're around for hundreds of quadrillions of years, right? There's still a measurement that you are. You're X amount of miles, you're X amount of light years. But even that's strange, because if there is no infinity to the universe, then what is the universe held inside of? And what's beyond that? And what's beyond that? You know, that's, my mind struggles with that. It's not made to understand that concept. The what's after that, what's after that. Because you can do that forever with the universe. You know, the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality. So, you know, let's say this is the universe right here. And this distance is like, say, you know, 150 septillion light years across, right? Okay, fine. What's after that? And then what's after that? And what's after that? You see, that's why it's kind of like a ridiculous world we live in, because you can do that forever, and then that has to mean that whatever's out there is infinite. You know, and if the universe is not infinite, space itself, emptiness has to be infinite. But then where did that emptiness come from? I don't know. There's no way of knowing. Although they say if you travel, and they don't just say it, a lot of people say it because it's true. Theory of relativity, the special one. If you travel at the speed of light or slightly slower, you don't want to get too, you know, cocky. But if you travel 99% of the speed of light, time slows down. Once you get to the 100%, then time stops. There's no more time motion. So you're traveling through space at the speed of light, and there's no time. It's nothing. So realistically, you can go from one side to the other as long as you can travel at that speed instantly or instamatically, right? Because no time is passing. So you're in this spaceship or whatever, and you're traveling at 100% the speed of light. You should be able to cross the universe in 0 time. So photons that have been traveling for billions of years going across space, to them it's instantaneous. Even though to us looking at it would be like, okay, it's not there yet, not there yet, it's not there yet. But from the photon's point of view, if it had consciousness, it would be instant, which is kind of like a weird thing. Here's this big universe, but as long as you travel at the speed of light, from your point of view, it's instant. You got there the moment you left. So, weird stuff. Weird stuff. And I'm sure the more you analyze the universe, the stranger it becomes. And I always wondered, you know, I not wondered a long time, but wondered for the last few years if there's any different kind of a reality that's not universe-based. You know, so we have the universe, we have the planets drifting, we have suns and all that kind of stuff. But what about if there's a reality that has none of that stuff, that's not universe-based? I don't know what it would be, but there's got to be other worlds out there that don't resemble the universe at all. And if we live in a multiverse, where it's an infinite amount of universes that are infinite themselves in size, then it becomes crazy. So you have a universe that's infinite, and then you have an infinite amount of those, like bubbles in your bathtub. Although those are not infinite, but you know what I mean. Crazy. I find it crazy that I'm even existing, like I'm here. I find that weird. That if not for two people getting together at that very moment, you wouldn't be here to experience any of this. So this place might as well not be true or real. The only reason we know it is because we're here. It's not like we were somewhere else before, knowing this place was there. We got to get to it. We got to get into a ship and get over there. The only way you'd know that this place, this reality, this universe is real is if you're born into it. So, yeah, it's mind-boggling. Or at least it boggles the mind. And the more time passes, the more things we discover, the stranger it seems. I mean, why does it even have to be that way? Where you have emptiness, then you have these balls, these spheres, just gliding around, doing their thing, and then you have us. We pop up. We're here. We're here. We're self-conscious. We realize what's going on around us, and that's weird. It's weird. Tuesday night. I remember years ago there was Tuesday night at the movies on ABC. I don't think they do those anymore. They used to have the movie of the week on ABC, movie of the week. I used to watch those. Brings back memories. I remember watching those and wonder why they didn't release this in the movie theater. It was only released on ABC Tuesday night or Monday night at the movies. They don't make, yeah, that's done. The other thing they used to do years ago was the ABC after school special. I used to watch those once in a while. I'd get home, turn on the TV, and it would say ABC after school special starting Christy McNichol or whatever. Yeah, those are done. Alright, I'm gonna go inside. I don't know what time it is. I don't have my, oh, I have my phone. 11:07 in the PM. So, I'm gonna go inside. Tomorrow is another brand new day. You sneeze a couple of times, it's over. It's funny how many, days we've time traveled through. And here we are. Alright, that's it for now. Ciao.